Welcome to the C# Programmer Zambia. In the previous video, we managed to create our API, and this is yeah, that's the API that we created. And just to correct something, we missed something here. We missed a closing block bracket there, so you can just close it like that, and make sure you do that, because you're going to have an error when you try to after creating the UI, when you try to run your project. Okay, so what we're doing in this project is we're now creating the UI of the project. Okay, so the UI of our system, so stay tuned. All right, so to create our UI, so user interface, we're simply going to add a page in the client project, in the pages folder. Okay, so we're simply going to right click that and we say add. We're going to right click the pages folder, and we're going to say add, and we're just adding a razor component. I know you've seen razor page there, but we're adding a razor component. So we're simply going to click razor component, and okay, that will come, and we're simply going to name it students. Okay, so it's going to be students.razor. All right, so students, but you don't have to type the .razor. It's just the extension. It's going to appear automatically. So students, just make sure you name it right, and yeah, you can give it any other name, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just wait for it to appear. All right, and there it is. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to route the way the page, the student page, to in our navigation menu. Remember, in part 2, we said our navigation menu is the one that appears. Let's just run our project so that we see what we're talking about. Okay, so that's what we see when we run our project. We have our home tab, and we also have the counter. Okay, so at the counter there is actually nothing that's there. Okay, so we are actually going to see that there's nothing. So we're going to create a student page. Okay, and okay, so what we do here is that after creating, we've created a student pages, and right now it's just a component, so we need to add something that is going to make it a page. We're going to add the @page directive. We're going to show you what I'm talking about, and then when we go to our nav menu, I guess you can see to say it's written counter here. So this counter is the one that's showing. Let me just go back to so this counter here is the one that's showing here. Okay, and then this is the one that we use to route to the page itself. Okay, so what we're going to do now is let's just close that. Okay, and now we're going to create we're going to make sure that the student component turns into a page by putting this @page directive. So let's just edit that. All right, so here on the on the students page, we're just going to create some space, and then there we can simply type @page. So we simply type @page, and put those symbols there, and /, and then we're going to say students. Okay, so this word is the one that we're going to use to route to route this page to the navigation menu. All right, so we're going to Solution Explorer, and then your navigation menu is in the client project, in the shared folder. That's where you find it. So you just click there, and then yeah, you have it. So we're going to replace this. Instead of being counter, we're going to have students, and then here we can also have students because that's what we wanted to display. Okay, so Control Shift S to save everything, and then we go back, and we're going to start creating our student page. Okay, so okay, here we are first going to add some code before adding the HTML code. Okay, so we're first going to add some C# code. All right, so we're going to have a list that is going to be holding our data. Okay, and remember, we're also going to call our data repeater component later on when creating in HTML. Okay, so here we're simply going to say private list. Okay, and simply going to say student. Okay, now here what it is before you do this, I would like you to include some directives on top there so that everything just moves smoothly. So we're simply going to say at inject HTTP client HTTP. All right, then the next thing is we're going to say at using learning Blazor.shared, because that's where our remember, that's where we have the student class right there. So learning Blazor.shared, so using learning Blazor .shared. Okay, and then also remember that we have our data repeater component, which is in the client project. So it's right here in the client project, in the components folder, data repeater component. So we're also going to say at, because everything all these things are going to be used. So at using learning Blazor dot shared dot components. Okay, so sorry, not shared but client, huh? Yeah, so client dot components. All right, like that. And then the last one that we're going to have is for us to be able to use our data repeater component, we need to add this namespace to this directive. So system dot reflection. Okay, reflection. So you can have a small research about these directives that we put there, like system.reflection. Okay, so to continue, this is where we are right now. To continue, we're simply going to continue making our list there. So student inside there, and then we're simply going to say stud. Okay, then so if lists are confusing for you, you can just take a short tutorial on how to create lists. I think I'm going to be making a tutorial on something like that. So new stud, and then equals new student. All right, like that, and then we can just terminate that. Then oh yeah, actually we need this here. Okay, then we're simply going to say private string filter. Okay, and we're going to terminate that. And this time around, we're going to have the method that we're going to use to get all the students. Okay, so we're going to say protected override sync task on initialized async. So on initialized, just make sure it's the correct spelling. On initialized async, that's one word like that, and we're simply going to do that. Okay, so since this is a method, we're going to do that. Protected override async task on initialized async. Okay, then inside there we're going to say await base dot on initialized async, and we're simply going to open and close there and terminate. Then we're going to have the list studs equals await and dot http dot get from JSON async. So okay, so not await dot. Okay, so that's why the error. So http dot get from JSON async. Okay, so what we want to get is actually a list of students. Okay, and there we're simply going to now try to route to our API. So we're simply going to say okay, we have inverted commas there, / API / students in capital letters. So students, yeah, students, like that. Okay, so I think that's okay. So okay, thereafter okay, we have a small error here. Say it's studs. Okay, so this has to be studs, not just stud. Okay, like that, and our error should be sorted out. Okay, then the next thing we want to do is we want to create a method for searching. Okay, so remember in our API, if we go to our API here, that's in student control, that's in the server project. Under controllers, we have students controller. We had a method to search, and we were comparing whether we have a certain program is appearing in the list that we have. So we're simply going to make sure that this name is the one that we're going to use in order for us to search. Okay, this word name, so we can change it to any other word and it's still going to work. Okay, so let's just change it. Since it's program, let's just try to create a shortcut like that, PROG aim, like that. And then let's have this program, let's have it in there, let's also have it in there. Okay, so I guess you can see we created some errors and also sorted them out just now. So let's go back to our student.razor page. Okay, and this time around, what we want to do is, as I said, we want to create a task to search. So we're going to say private async task. Okay, search. We're going to name it search. All right. So let's just make sure that since it's a method, it's going to start with capital. So private async task search. Okay, and then we do that. All right. So we can simply just do that. And then in here, we're going to say in the list studs. Okay, so equals await http dot get from JSON async. Okay, get from JSON async. That doesn't have to miss the list. Okay, student. Okay, and yeah, it has to be that student. And then thereafter, since we are searching using that keyword program that I showed you, PROG aim, we're simply going to include firstly our $sign there. Then we're going to include our inverted commas, whatever you call them. Okay, then slash API and slash student. So we are routing to our API, and then we're going to say, okay, so we changed, instead of name, we changed to that PROG aim. All right, meaning program. Okay, equals we're going to open our curly brackets, then we're going to say URI. Okay, and we're going to say dot escape data string. Okay, so escape data string, and then inside there we're going to say filter. Okay, so remember the filter that we just created here. All right, and then we're simply going to terminate this this statement. Okay, so I guess you can see right now we have no issues. We can simply say Ctrl+Shift+S to save everything. And the next method that we are going to create is a task to add students. Okay, All right. Okay, I'm just trying to see what I did here. All right, so we're simply just going to also declare it as a private async task. Okay, private async task, and we're going to name it add. All right, like that. Then thereafter, we're going to include our braces there, like that. And then this time around, okay, so it's going to be a little bit different from the one we are from creating. Okay, so this one is going to be we're going to first say, okay, using var in brackets var message equals await http dot post as JSON. Okay, so we are posting, we are adding. Remember how our HTTP post works. Okay, so post as JSON async there, student. All right, so learning Blazor.share, just that's the student we want. We just want to close that. All right, then thereafter we're going to open and close brackets again, and now route or call our API there. So we're simply going to include that, and then we're going to say /API /students. All right, and we're simply going to say comma. Okay, now let's say comma from there. All right, and then now we're going to say new stud. Okay, remember that there. Then comma, and then we're going to say system dot trading dot cancellation token. Okay, so it should be, yeah, it's right there. Dot none. Okay, dot none, like that. All right, so I guess you can see with our Visual Studio IntelliSense, it's very easy to code. All right, so we simply now this is a method, so we're not terminating, but we're opening and closing some braces there. Okay, then here we're going to say if message dot is success status code. All right, then what should happen is the following. So we're simply going to say studs dot add await. Okay, and we're simply going to say message dot content. All right, dot read from JSON async. Okay, so yeah, let's just continue typing it. Read from JSON async, like that. And so just remember, every time we say from JSON async, we have something like that. We just have to put the student class in there. All right, and then we simply do that, and okay, so simply, yeah, terminating there. So I guess you can see this is as far as we have gone, and now we're going to add another statement here. So new stud, yes, the spelling is that one there. Okay, so new stud dot first name. Okay, so all right, so it's just okay. It was just my Visual Studio. So new stud dot first name. So I guess you can see we actually have the name, the names of our attributes there. Okay, so we simply say first name equals new stud dot this time you want it to be last name, and equals new stud dot program. Okay, so those are the only things that we are entering. Okay, so we say equals now there, and we're done with creating our add method, so that when we click the add button, which we haven't created yet, we can simply add a student. Okay, so next we're going to add the method for saving. So private async task save. Okay, so just you can see how the pattern is going here. So here we're just going to say change event args e, and we're going to say student, and yes, that's student stud. Okay, so just created something called stud, which represents the student here, and then we can simply say string property field, or prop field. Actually, you can just do something like that. Okay, let's use, okay, something like that. Okay, so this time around this is a method, so we do that, and this time around we're going to say property info. Okay, so yes, we have property info there. Then we're just going to say p info equals type of student. Okay, so that's student dot get property. Okay, so the property that we want to get is the one that we just created there on top, prop field. Okay, yes, prop field, like that. Right, and then we can simply just create. Okay, we're simply going to terminate here. All right, so the next thing that we're going to have here is okay, simply going to say p info, since we've just declared that there, p info. Okay, so p info actually dot set value. All right, set value stud e dot value. Right, like that, and then we can simply just do that. And now we're going to say using bar message. Okay, we saw something like this before, but yeah, we can even just get the same one that we have in our add method. Okay, so we can simply get this one, copy, although it's not exactly the same, there's a little bit of a difference. Okay, then we're going to paste it there. Now here the difference is that what we have here has to differ. Okay, so in our save method, we're going to remove this part. Okay, we're going to remove new stud from here, and we're going to use stud instead. Okay, and before that, here let's just edit as well, so where the API is, and actually inside there, okay, we're going to say forward slash, we're going to say open and close braces, and then we're simply going to say stud dot student ID. All right, so student ID, like that. Okay, and then stud, yes, system.trading. Okay, so here that's how we're actually writing it. So I guess you can see we have some errors here. Okay, we don't really mind about that for now. All right, so hope our syntax is correct here, but if not, we're simply going to sort out some errors. So that being a method, we're simply just going to do that, and then thereafter, I guess you can see now there are no issues. Thereafter, we're simply going to say if so if message dot is success status code. Okay, so right now I don't really think we actually want anything to happen, but we're just going to include our this statement for use later on. Okay, so here we just want it to do something if that's actually the case, but anyway, we won't even add that comment. So let's just continue to okay, I think that's not even supposed to be there, right? Then okay, so there we are. All right, that's ending there. Okay, so let's continue from there. We've created the method for saving. Okay, so after that we want to create our method for deleting. Okay, so we're simply going to say private async task delete again. Private async task delete this time around. Okay, and then we're gonna say GUID, since we're deleting, we're looking for the student ID as we delete. So student ID, and yeah, this is the method. So we do that, and then we say using okay, so using, sometimes editing might be, you copy and then you start editing, it might be a little bit cumbersome sometimes. So I'm just going to type this, and http dot delete. Okay, so delete async, and we're going to do the API thing here. So we're simply going to say $, okay, and then we're simply going to say okay, we're going to put that. All right, and this time around what we want, okay, so this is a method, let's just do that there. Okay, and we'll go back and continue inside there. Okay, so what we want to input there is slash API. I guess I bet you already knew it. Students, like that. All right, so students where the student ID matches. Okay, so student ID, like that. All right, where the student ID matches. Right, then okay, so I've already put our braces there. Now here we're going to say if msg dot is success code, success status code, and okay, so if that's the thing, then what we're going to do is we're going to delete the student. Okay, so we're going to use a for loop. So simply going to declare an integer I. Everybody uses I and J in for loops. Okay, so I for okay, so for I is equal to 0. Okay, that, and I is less than studs, which is the list, dot count. Okay, and okay, so the and is there, and studs okay, the index dot student ID is not equal to student ID. All right, and we're going to say I plus plus. All right, and then we're just going to terminate that even just from there. All right, so like that, yeah, and then we're simply going to say studs dot remove. All right, remove at I. Okay, like that. So I guess you can see what we have done there. So here we don't want it to be student, we want it to be student ID. Yeah, like that, student ID. Okay, and then studs dot remove at I. Okay, so cannot apply indexing with oh, okay, so so some of these errors you just have to read and know what they're talking about. So it's supposed to be that there, and then yeah, we terminate. Okay, so I bet we're not going to have any issues now. So no issues found, and we are actually done with creating the methods for adding, deleting, saving, you know, that kind of stuff. So now let's go to creating the UI itself now in HTML. Okay, so before we go ahead, I remember when I said copying and pasting sometimes, even from your own code, can be a bit of a hassle. So we didn't change this from post as JSON. we have to change it to put now, since this method is, you know, for editing, saving changes and all that stuff. So put as JSON async. Okay, and then here we're missing a $sign. Okay, so we're simply going to put in $sign, and I guess you can see the changes there, and we actually have our student ID changing color there. Okay, so let's just say Control Shift S, and yeah, I think we should be good to go now and create our UI. Okay, so to help us with creating the UI, I've put the UI code in the comment section below. Okay, so you're just going to maybe just copy that. I'm not a fan of creating UI myself, but you know, I just have to just have to. So we're gonna have a form, and yeah, that's what we're going to be using. So I'm just going to get that code and paste it just after students there, and then I'm just going to paste it there. Okay, so that's the code that we have. This code is going to form a form for you. So if you're a fan of HTML, creating UI and all that, I think, yeah, this should be very good for you. You should be feeling good right now. So okay, I don't think we actually have any errors in here. So let's just now run our project and try to do all the functionalities like creating, reading, updating, and deleting. Okay, so let's just strike F5. There's the moment that most people actually now start thinking, is my project going to run? All right, so there we have it. So we're just going to navigate to the students page quickly, and then we're going to see some loading here until it manages to retrieve what's in the database. Okay. All right, so for the sake of trying, I automatically added these fields, but when yours loads, okay, let me just delete this. So I guess you can see the deleting is working. Okay, so this is what you should see when your project runs. Okay, so let's say we want to add, okay, yeah, me, that's my name, by the way, information systems. Nah, I like respecting my program, started the capital letter. So information systems, like that, and we're just going to strike enter. So enter works, clicking add works, everything works. Okay, so I guess you can see we've added. Okay, who are we adding next? Let's say we want to add this guy. Okay, like that, and we're simply going to say add this time. Let's try the button. Well, then the button works. Now what if we want to edit this guy? Okay, we don't want this guy to be chongo here, we want him to be banda, like that. Okay, just like that, we have managed to edit. Now I want the students doing computer science, so I'm going to search for computer science there. All right, and I'm just going to say search. Okay, and only the student doing computer science is here. Okay, so well, I think everything is okay. Now here's the thing. Let's try to compare these things that we're seeing here to what is happening in our database. Every time we try to modify the data here, what is happening to our database? So the goodness with this is there is instant change in our database. So to go back to your whole list, just delete everything there, then click search, and everybody else is going to come back. Now here what we're going to do is we're going to open Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Well, I'm going to overwork this guy, but well, we're going to open SQL Server Management Studio, and we're going to go to our database so that every time we add a student, we delete a student, we modify the name, we can see the changes happening in the database. Okay, so let me just get my SQL Saver, Microsoft SQL Saver Management Studio running, and yeah, you get yours too. All right, so we have our SQL Saver Management Studio open. Let's just click connect. All right, then we're going to expand databases. Okay, then thereafter we're going to expand our database. So the database, if you remember, is student database DB. So after expanding that, we're going to expand tables as well. All right, then the table that we want to expand. Oh, first let's expand the folder tables. Okay, and then this time around, we simply want to right click our student table, and we're going to say select top 1000 rows. Okay, so we just click that. So that's going to give us a query that's actually going to run. It's a select query. Yeah, so we just want to select the top 1000 rows. Of course, we just have 2 rows that have been filled since we only have 2 students. Well, I don't know how many you have, but I've only included 2. All right, so there is our query, and our results are right there. So I guess you can see how the GUID actually looks. It's a very big value. So we've got Clarence and Michael. Okay, those are the 2 students that we have. Now let's go back to VS Visual Studio. Okay, no, we're actually going back to our web application. So now I guess you can see that that student is Michael Banda and there is Clarence Simukanzi. So let's just try to edit this Simukanzi. Let's try saying, okay, instead of my name being Clarence Simukanzi, I'm going to be Clarence Programmer. All right, and yeah, we're just going to move out there, and then let's just minimize that, and now let's try to select. So right click, select top 1000 rows. Okay, so let's see what happens. All right, so and there we can see we've made the changes, and anything else that happens. So if you add a student, you compare it to your database, still going to be added. So let's say we want to add a certain student. Yeah, like that, and this guy, let's say, is doing well. I'm sorry with the biasness on the programs, but well, so add, and let's go back to our database, right click, and we say select top 1000 rows. All right, so I think everything else is actually working. So I guess you can see the new student that we've created is there with a unique identifier. Okay, so we've managed to create our UI. We've managed to create the whole system actually, and everything is working. So that's how you create a Blazor WebAssembly application that actually connects to the database. I'm not going to say this is the last video because I want us to do some improvements on the system. So well, you can go ahead, try out some tricks with Blazor WebAssembly. Try changing the UI. Yeah, if you have any problems, trust me, I'm going to answer them if you put them in the comment section below. Okay, as long as I can. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.